It is officially the offseason, and the Arizona Cardinals have some work to do if we want to become a playoff team coming next year. Now, there's a couple things we got to get into, but first things first. Coaching. Coaching will stay the same. I don't like Drew Petzing very much, but unless the Bears take him off our hands, he's going to stay. And I believe he'll be here come next year. Number 2, Kyler Murray will be our quarterback for the next season. Now, this season will come in with the understanding. This is make or break. This is playoff or bust, and this is Kyler's real last chance. He's not going to get another one after this. If we don't go, I expect him to be traded. But he has one last opportunity here going into this season to prove and show us what he's got. And if we're going to put him in that situation and we're going full steam ahead, we want playoffs, then we have to put weapons around him. And I know we already got a good offense going, but we need to give him the best opportunity he can. And I believe the Cardinals will do that. But first things first, we have to re-sign the players from our team last year that contracts have expired. Starting with that, Kazir White, he's got to come back. Just absolutely insane on our defense. He's second only to Buddha. I mean, he's done great with his time here, and he's got to come back. Kelvin Beachum, great backup. We can use him in many different ways, and offensive line, often injured. We need the backup. I would like to see Zay Jones back. He didn't have too much of a pivotal part, but he was consistent at least, and I don't know. I think another season with him wouldn't be a bad thing. Kryze Barnes, I think linebacker room, any one of our linebackers, bring him back. Our linebackers are dogs, and he is no exception. Baron Browning, we traded for him in the middle of the season. Ultimately, I think bringing him back makes sense. 1-2 year prove-it deal. Come and earn your contract, and we'll get a full season worth of Browning. But I think it ultimately just makes sense. Then we have Greg Dortch. Greg Dortch, I mean, it speaks for itself. He's a great receiver 3-4 and a solid return man. I think he's one of those players that if you watch it, like that team really likes him. And I think Greg Dortch will be back. And last but not least, I have Jesse Luketa. Jesse Luketa honestly shined this year, opposed to other years. He stayed kind of quiet, but this year we saw him blossom a little more. And I think it's the start of something big for him. And I think bringing him back would be a good thing for the Cardinals organization. Now that is all the re-signings. Next up, like I said, if we want the Cardinals to win, we need to put weapons around Kyler. If it's really going to be his last shot, let's set him up to do his best. And I think getting him another receiver wouldn't hurt. Now, it doesn't have to be the biggest name receiver, but ultimately, free agency's coming. I'd like to see Monty cook up and make some moves. So, first things first, it's more of an honorable mention because I don't think it'll happen. But T. Higgins, I said it last year, I want T. Higgins to be a Cardinal so bad. Paying him what we don't have to pay Marvin Harrison might not be a bad thing. Get Kyler another trusty 1,000-yard receiver in this offense and really give him no excuse. And honestly, let's just air this ball out. I mean, T. Higgins speaks for himself. He's a ball hawk. He can do anything that a top receiver can do, and he can really change this team and make it better. And I would love to see him in a Cardinals jersey. Next, Josh Sweat. We need pass rush, especially on the edge. Defensive line in general is just a massive need, but give me Josh Sweat. He would be amazing with this Cardinals defense and really be instantly our number one guy on this pass rush. No one would really compete with him, and I'd imagine he'd have a double-digit sack season his first year with us. And then my next two, Cardinals' offensive weak point, our offensive guards. We're pretty sound on tackles, and Froholt's a solid center, but we need guards. Our guards haven't really been solidified. So I think making a move in Trey Smith or Tavon Jenkins would ultimately make sense. Obviously, these are top-tier, higher echelon guys and are going to be expensive. Protecting Kyler has to be at the top of our list. We can't have our quarterback getting hit. And ultimately, let's just protect the man. It's going to cost us, but ultimately in the long run, it's going to benefit us. So I think either of these two would be great for us. It'll honestly make a massive difference on our offensive line. And last but not least, like I said, defensive line is massive need. Our defensive line was good on the rush, but it wasn't necessarily good on pass. So I think getting Osa Odighizowa would make sense. Someone who's good on the pass, but also is that big body in the middle. Okay, coming off 4.5 sack season, he's a solid guy that we can bring in and really implement him right into our defense. And I think numbers would speak for themselves. I think he'd be great on this defense, and he'd provide a good pass rush, and something the Cardinals haven't really had in a while in an interior defensive lineman. And obviously, there's a couple guys the Arizona Cardinals can trade for. I don't think we're going to be too trade heavy, but I would like a bigger name, especially if we're going to get an edge rusher. Trey Hendrickson, a Myles Garrett. Most of all, I would love a Max Crosby. Max Crosby is an absolute dog, and I feel like him on this defense is a game changer to any defense, really. But him with Nick Rallis' defense, we're talking about a change from like 24th in the league to almost top 10. That's what kind of player he is, and that's what he could bring to this Cardinals team. And I'd really love to see him. And a couple other receivers I'd like to see, but I don't really think that's too realistic. But Tyreek Hill and Garrett Wilson, I'll throw those out there. But ultimately, I think most of our work is going to be done through free agency. And the Arizona Cardinals will be picking at 16. A decent spot. I expect us to go Abdul Carter, edge rusher. Also, I do not want the Cardinals to draft an edge rusher. I know that makes no sense, but we just suck at drafting linebackers and edge rushers. So I'd prefer us not to. But, I mean, if he's there, we got to take him. We need the edge help, and he's arguably the best edge rusher in this draft. And so if he's there, we got to take him. And that's who I'm submitting the Cardinals to draft. Now, we'll see after the combine and everything, but I believe he is our best pick as of right now. But ultimately, I'm very excited. This Cardinals team was better than they were supposed to be. They outperformed themselves this year. Many people think we were going to get only 5 wins. We had an 8-win season. It's solid. It's middle ground, though. We need to get better. And so far, we've done that every year with Jonathan Gannon. And so we just need another step in the right direction going into this offseason. And we need the players to get it done. And I think the Cardinals will go out and get those guys we need. And I think we will be a competitor next year. This Cardinals team is on the brink of playoffs. Going in Thanksgiving, we had a taste of it, but we fell short. This team's not very far. And a couple of additions that could just be major help for us could be a game changer. And ultimately mean playoffs for this Cardinals team. But we're going to have to wait and see how the Cardinals address this offseason. But that's going to be a video. Be sure to hit that like and sub button. With that being said, I'll see y'all on the next one.